Here's why I chose this setting. Setting, as I said, is one of the most important parts of the game. It drives agency for the characters, it formulates your decisions, why you're doing what you're doing, and it starts to explain why you're doing hand-to-hand combat. If we were in a sci-fi futuristic setting, why are you not just using laser guns and flying around in spaceships? If we were in more of a traditional fantasy setting, why are you not just throwing fireballs and running around with swords and crossbows and catapults? Why aren't you on horseback? Why aren't you riding around in tanks or cars? What is happening in the world around you then starts to form a story of its own. How you interact as players then forms another story. But the setting creates adversity in and of itself. Now, in our setting, we're going back to the 1800s in northern China during the Qing dynasty. Let's talk about weapons, because weapons are a big part of Fists and Fiends, but not when you first start. As you heard in the backstory, you've used all the weapons. You burned any wood that was part of them, so you're going out and you're fighting with just hand-to-hand combat. But if you look at in the American West at the time, same time period, we started to see the repeater rifle and Gatling guns. Warfare was changing quickly. Again, why are we fighting with our hands and feet when you have firearms like that? So if we go to China and we look at their history, well, around this time period, they didn't have modern firearms. They were still using matchlocks. And matchlocks are in the game. But ammunition is a resource, and resources are hard to come by. Matchlocks use gunpowder as well, and match cords, and you need a way to light fires. So all of these things start to bring agency and strife to the characters right from the get-go. You have a limited population. There's only 108 of you. So every time your character dies and you have to make a new one, it's coming off of that 108 number. Now, why did I choose a real-world setting instead of making one of my own? Well, my job, day-to-day life, is coaching Mantis boxing and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Mantis boxing actually comes from Shandong province and around the time of the late 1800s. In China at this time, their last dynasty was beginning to collapse. They were facing floods, famine, disease, drug epidemics, foreign invaders, wars, rebellions. It was an absolute nightmare. The flood that takes place, that kicks off the game, was actually based on a real flood that happened, and it killed 9.5 to 13 million people between the flood and the ensuing famine that happened after. I don't think you have to stretch your imagination much to come up with a horror environment when you have real-world events that were even more horrific than whatever you can come up with in your imagination. And as I was wrestling with creating my own world, it suddenly dawned on me that this is the perfect setting. It explains why the characters are using hand-to-hand combat more than they're using weapons. It helps explain the adversity and the struggle and the survival. It explains the limited resources available. And there you have it. That's some background on why I chose the setting that Fists and Fiends takes place in. Mantis boxing, as I said, comes from that area, and a lot of other Chinese martial arts styles that I did over the years are also from that general region and time period. It's a rich setting that can bear a lot of fruit, and I think it'll be fun to have players be able to explore a time period and a part of the world that isn't often something that you find in media or culture or games especially. Buckle in. I think you'll enjoy where this is taking place and how much it affects your players in the game.